I've made millions, but I've lost millions. Oh my gosh. I ended up having, I think, 30 companies up until last year. And then that collapsed. I don't wish this to anybody, to go through what I have gone through.
What advice do you have for people out there who want to take their hard-earned money and lower the odds of it disappearing?
What is your risk tolerance? What would happen to your household if this money disappeared? Because strategies work until they don't. In about 18 months, we raised about $17 million. It was a dream come true. I didn't see the market shift. It really, really hurt us. And I had at that point about $6 million to give my mess debt back. And everybody pulled out. I was left on my closing with $200,000.
Was that sort of the new rock bottom for you at that point?
Oh yeah, because I knew that the company was going down in the most painful way after 2 years of excruciating work. I've never had so much like the panic, the night sweats, the terror, the guilt. I sold everything. I sold every single other investment that I had. I stripped my husband from 25 years of work. I ended up at the hospital last year and I almost died. I think it was the stress. My body literally infected itself. So I had that aftermath of like, oh my God, what do I do?
You kind of need something to keep you anchored. What kept you going?
There's two things that I adore and I will always protect. They're my kids. So I started going inward. I had to stop into the most simple things of the day, which was make breakfast for my kids and tuck them into bed. So I kept that to heart. I'm working between my 5 projects, 13, 14-hour days, 6 days a week. And I said, I want to build something incredible. And I just don't even know what it is yet. So this whole thing is not for nothing. Ale, you're going through hell and the only way out is...
Before we dive in, a quick note for our listeners. This episode includes discussion around financial hardship, mental health challenges, and references to suicide. Listener discretion is advised. If any of these topics resonate personally, please know that support is available, and we've included helpful resources in the description below. Ale started with a vision and she built big. She didn't just flip houses, she operated entire portfolios. From $17 million raised in months, she played at a scale that few ever do. But when the market turned, everything came crashing down. And the lessons weren't in profit. They were in responsibility, strategy, and resilience. And what stood out to me was how she handles what broke, how she's rebuilding, and how she's moving forward. Let's get into it. I want to welcome you to the show.
Thank you, El Rey. I love your name. I appreciate you for having me and your patience for all the tech issues. We managed to arrive. It's amazing. I'm happy to be here. So thank you for what you do. It's important.
Happy to have you on, and believe me, I'm no stranger to the tech issues, so I'm glad we could resolve that. Now, for the audience out there who they have no idea who you are, do you mind giving us some insight into how you first got into real estate? What pulled you in initially?
Oh, you're in for a good story, my friend. Okay. So I was born in Ecuador, and I'm going to fast track really quickly because it's been a lot of years. I'm getting closer to 50 at this point in time. So there's a lot of years in real estate. But before I turned 20, I did my very first house hack because I wanted to live on my own in a very conservative country. So that was not cool, which I still did. And I was always passionate about design and beauty and all those trades. So I beautifully renovated this house. It wasn't even mine. And I rented it to cover my expenses. So I actually met my husband that way. He was one of my house hack boys.
Hey,
I know. Like real estate has brought me so many gifts. One of them being him. But so I realized quickly how much I loved beauty. So I did study business, and then I moved into design, and then I moved into furniture and decoration. So it all kind of tagged in together. And then I decided to move to Canada. Fast forward, I opened a furniture store in the middle of downtown Vancouver, and I raised my first $500,000 into that project. I was very young, and I worked there for years. When I did my operating business, I started doing a lot of interior decoration renovations for other people. Fast forward, I bought my first home. I started um, converting, flipping, acquiring projects for short-term rentals. I mean, it's in my blood, and I couldn't
Yes.
stop it. So there was a point in my life where I stopped because I became a mom, and I completely paused. I lost many kids. It took me 13 years to get pregnant. So by the time I was
Wow.
able to conceive my first baby, I devoted myself completely to her. And then I had another one, which was great. And at that point, I had a lot of time to kind of like regroup, restudy. And I had also built, I was able to not work because of my real estate and be fully
Yes.
dedicated. So I know the life change transformation that can happen to somebody when you do this consistently. I never lost a dollar. I always made money in every single one of my deals. So I got very comfortable around taking that leap, taking that risk. So then, when my first baby was in going into kindergarten, I said, okay, I am ready to start my journey again. And I love my kids, but my God, I have a very busy mind. And I said, okay, I have X amount of capital. I want to start going into land development. So I joined a mastermind. I wouldn't call it a mastermind, more like a community. And
Yes.
it was a big community for real estate in Canada. And I met my beloved partner. Her name is Mimi Faye, and she's a builder and small developer here in Vancouver. She builds beautiful houses, spectacular product, and of course my knack for design and furniture, and because I had done already like short-term rentals, it just fit. And
Yeah.
I said to her, hey, I don't have the experience for what you do, but I have money. So we immediately partnered. And so that's how, in a way, it started. And then she said, I'm exiting this couple projects, so I also have money. So we said, okay, we are going to not only do financial and work partner, but we're going to do both. And it was almost like love at first sight. When I actually adore human beings, I adore everybody, and it's a blessing and a curse. So, but she never left my house. She was supposed to be there for an hour. It was 7 hours. The five kids were still running and playing, and
Yeah.
and I'm Latina, so food here, food there, bring the husband, all those crazy things. And it's been a hell of a journey with her. I'm so grateful to have her in my life still. Story short, we acquired two small development projects in Nanaimo here in BC. And we knew it was going to take a little bit of time, but things were roaring in BC at this time. And so
Yeah.
we're like, don't worry, Airbnb all the way, triplex, let's go. 3,000 square feet house, 17 people, $1,000 a night, that my 60% vacancy. Amazing. It's great. And that was the time where in this program that I was in, they suggested that we could do some, JVing or like short-term loans to get properties up to the like to acquire. So I was learning all these incredible things, and I tried it. And within a day, we were able to buy another property. So we did. I was shaking. I remember that day. It was on Zoom, and I had, I think, 50 people that we invited into the community because because of our track record, they were curious to see us both come back.
Yeah.
So we had our network, and they're like, whenever you start something, let me know, because they've seen me grow. And at that point, I grew a lot. So when I opened the gates, so to speak, a lot of money was invested into these projects. I'm gonna fast forward. We created Honeybee Development Group, and you can check us out on Instagram. I keep it open. The website is still open, and in a relatively short period of time, we acquired 8 additional projects, and that varied from subdivisions, townhome developments. We got 2 buildings, like towers, within Toronto, the Toronto area, for student rentals. So in about 18 months, we raised about $17 million. Mimi and I, we were both the strongest capital partners.
Wow.
So we held a big portion of the capital stack on the company. And it was a dream come true. It was
Yeah.
just amazing. I've never been so high in my life. Things were moving, happening, and we could see the properties being like getting closer to the rezoning process, and all these things. And again, I didn't see the market shift, and it really, really hurt us. So then, from being a love story of excitement, and I ended up with 300 investors in my pool. And a big portion of those, I think 85 or 90% of them, I know their families, I know their stories, I know, and I care. I was the main capital raiser in the process. So huge learning curve from fundraising for a small project to going and doing an offering memorandum and having an XM market dealer and doing like a national campaign. So because of my business background and Mimi's business background in finance and what we were able to do together, we got a team set up and we grew. So all of a sudden, we are these two ladies that are doing big ass, like badass development. And we became a thing, almost like a theme.
What year was this?
This is 2019,
Okay.
in the beginning of the story. So what happened then is that we acquired two massive projects in 2023. And I got cocky. I said,
Yeah.
no worries, like we got this, and our network is incredible and everything's going to be fine. And we can, when people get scared, well, we're going to go because we know what we're doing. We can do this. Oh my God. It's the first time I talk about this. So there's a lot of emotion coming in. And
Yeah.
so by the time we got, so the way we did this is we acquire the properties with short-term money, like mezz debt. And
Yes.
and then we would get all our legal and our paperwork, because we had so many investors already. We had an XM market dealer to process and the Securities Commission to process and Olympia Trust, because we learned how to do register funds through the process. So we had now a fund manager, right? So a lot of things started to like stuck up. And when we started so we acquired the projects and then we started the equity process, then a lot of people started going down, and a lot of bankruptcies like hit every single one of the communities, and people left and people closed shops and moved out of the country. And there's all these fraudulent situations happening here in BC, or maybe a few that I know in Ontario, and all these things over CBC. And it was a monster. Like
Yeah.
it became from
Yeah.
November to January, it became this thing. And I had at that point about $6 million confirmed for funding and to give my mess debt back. And everybody pulled out. I was left on my closing with $200,000 and a hell of
Ooh.
a lot of like big, big amount of mess debt. So my capital stack was completely off balance. And so, oh my gosh. And then it was really hard because I could see a lot of people that are in the same industry fundraising, and like they continued. But I knew by the time this last person filed for bankruptcy, I knew there was an issue. So I had to go to Mimi and I said, Mimi, I'm not able to take another dollar from anybody because this is going to go down. Like there's something really off. We need to regroup. So I had to take this crazy decision to send emails to all my investors and say, I'm pausing interest payments and I'm going to wait. And I got a lot of fire for that because they wanted, of course, their interest. In the beginning, I said, I can see that there's something bigger than the interest payments being delayed here. And I cannot raise more money to cover this. Like, there needs to be a reassessment of the portfolio, and how are we going to tackle what I saw coming. And then I got news here that at that point there were already about 200 developers that went down in BC alone, and cranes were stopping, and everybody was like leaving, literally the whole thing. So I said, okay, we're going to pause. And what Mimi and I did, we sold the properties that we had. And I said, you know what, we're going to fund this thing ourselves until we figure it out. So I sold everything I had. The Porsche left, the pool house in North Van went, the rentals went, the savings,
Oh man.
everything. And
Yeah.
I tried to keep this afloat. Mimi, we were stripped. But we were going to make it. So I had very strong mentorship. I knocked on doors, hundreds of them, for not only equity, but mentorship. It's like, how do I need somebody that has seen this cycle that can help me, because
Yeah.
this is way bigger than I am. And no,
Yeah.
like, this is definitely bigger. So God was incredible to me at that point. It showed me the way. And it was a crazy battle for about, geez, 2 years. And I said, I'm not going away. And so I said to my investors, I'm going to meet with you guys every Thursday at 2 p.m. until we're out of the shadow. So they saw me cry, yell, defeated, ecstatic, and God knows we did everything.
The one thing I like highlighting on the show, I mean, I think it's so easy to highlight all the wins, all the glamour. Um, but for investors who are earlier on in their journey, I feel like it's equally, if not more important, to highlight the struggles, the the hard, tough times, the times when it feels like there's no options, or options are limited and you're backed into a corner. What was that low point for you, and like where were you at mentally, and how were you able to focus on a solution driven mindset to go find guidance, to try and be resourceful and figure things out, versus caving in and just shutting down and just, calling it?
I think
What was like a moment, if you think back, like that feels like this was the lowest point and things started
I think
started to shift from there?
I think the moment where I had a closing that was committed to 6 million and went down to 200, I
Mm,
knew that it was going to be very serious. I just knew. And so that's the point where I had to make like a set of decisions. And my higher self knew that at that point in time, I needed to become someone different than what I was at that point. Because what I had available could not handle the pressure. We actually have two principals that actually killed themselves in this process. Like,
wow.
it was that much of a pressure. I know people as operators that ended up in the hospital multiple times, strokes, paralysis, car accidents because of stress. Like, as operators, we we went through, and still we are still in the heat of it. So I think that was the moment. And I had to not only focus on what was next, as who can I call? I think I've talked to hundreds. And there was a point where one developer has been in the market for 45 years. I had two massive developers that had seen the other correction years back.
Yeah.
And there was a point where he said, okay, I think you're going to be okay. And we created this incredible strategy where we would sell a couple properties, restructure the capital stack, unify my corporate structure, unify debt with equity. I mean, it was like really daunting. So we got into this massive restructuring process, and it was working. So I managed to get my
Yeah.
70 mess debt holders. They all agreed to come in. It was amazing. It was an incredible amount of work to put 300 people in the same page, kind of. But at that point, my investors had 10 deals, 15 deals down, 20 deals down. I had one with 35 deals down. And then all they saw was me not giving up, basically, and Mimi not giving up and showing up. And they said, everybody ghosts us, like you create this crazy presentations with everything that was done on the week, and we appreciate that on you. And I said, okay, we're gonna make it, we're gonna make it, we're gonna make it. So we sold 2 properties. We got money back. We paid off the other. Like, we started working the money across the portfolio to really get one into construction. And I said, because every single one of the projects had a different exit strategy and different timeline. And when I looked at the numbers, I had to stretch every single project to 5 to 7 years. It was like that. I needed to build them and hold them and let the process pass. And then, of course, there were people that were expecting the money to come out of the subdivisions that were already selling, and nothing was selling because the market just got blocked. So I had properties ready to sell that were not selling, like beautiful subdivisions with ocean view, like nothing. And the price that was being offered was below what we actually spent. And then we had the government that came in, not only increased interest payments, but collapsed federal and city policy by increasing density without being able to actually execute it. So timelines went ridiculous, and then costs went ridiculous, and then we had 2 of our biggest projects, actually 3. One was a condo for a condominium for sale, 320 units in Toronto. So that market was a little on the suffering side. And then we had student rentals, like 300 units student rentals coming up for density. And then the city's backed out because there's no students right now. And then we actually found a potential investor that was a billionaire in India. And at that point, dear Trudeau said, oh, we're going to increase the capital gain at up to 67% in Canada. So he's like, oh my God, like Canada is terrible. So we're not investing there. So in every single month, we had one policy was just really affecting what we were doing. We were trying to come out of the water and we feel like we're drowning and come out again. And then we got hit. So I had one investor. She's so kind. And she said, the way I see you is, those ninja games where you're running and then they give you an obstacle and you kind of do this and then another obstacle and you have to. And so I see you being like put down every time, and we still managed to come back and do it again. So it was a good metaphor because that's honestly how I felt. And then but we managed to pull it off, and we said, okay, it's great. We had a debenture, like the legal was good. We talked to every single one of our consultants, everybody waiting. It was amazing. It was a hell of a ride. And we were going to be able to put the first building into construction. And then it was 4 days before December of 2024, where I had the debenture ready. Everybody agreed. We sold the 2 properties, this, that, and the other. And we had already 3 lawsuits that we mediated from debt. I'm like, we're going to pay you so we can move on because they blocked our titles and whatnot. And I said, guys, you put one more on these properties and I cannot hold this. Like, it's going to bounce. Everybody held off. It was really an incredible time. And 20th of December, I got this call from my mortgage broker because we were doing a CMHC play, really high leverage mortgages to get the first one, and then inter alia, all the mortgages to be able to get one under construction and then, roll it over as we went. And then they called me and they said, Ale, I'm so sorry, I'm the Grinch for you. I know how hard you've tried, but CMHC just changed the policy. And then for construction, they are dropping it down to 75% loan to value, and you need another $15 million of equity.
How much were you guys expecting initially on the loan to value side?
I think we're okay with 89 or something like that. We didn't even need 95, but that extra in a big portfolio of $500 million, it's quite
makes
a bit,
difference.
Right?
Yeah.
And before it would have been okay, but where we were sitting, and because there's so many people going bankrupt, raising money was almost impossible. Okay. And the fact of the matter is that even if I had the capacity to fundraise, the numbers were so tight that it was impossible. I actually had 3 fund managers that came for distressed asset management funds to acquire me. Pretty shady deal. Like, I've seen it all in this round. And of course I said no, because I would have had to hurt my investors. But um so what ended up happening is that when I went to tell my investors that we needed to do another round of funding, I had 2 people that were not willing to wait, and they blocked the properties to get first in line of the short-term loans. And when the refinance banking bankers saw that, they pulled out the refis. And then I felt that my whole world had crumbled because I had mortgaged everything I owned. I sold everything I had. Like, I stripped my husband from 25 years of work. And I mean, a lot of work
Wow.
was all put in there. I didn't diversify my portfolio. I didn't look for a security for my kids. I didn't do any of that. And it was the first day that I actually looked at me, because I was
Yeah.
always like, I owe this to my investors. They trusted me, like, all these things. So, but yeah, so I had that aftermath of like, oh my God, what do I do? And
Was that sort of the new rock bottom for you at that point?
oh yeah, oh yeah,
Yeah.
because I knew that the company was going down.
Mm.
And it was going down in the most painful way after 2 years of excruciating work. I mean, I've never had so much, like, the panic, the night
Yeah.
sweats, the terror, the guilt. Although I like the what could I have done better? How could I have seen this coming? Could I have done anything differently? And so all I had at that point was my moral compass, and say, I have done everything to the best of my abilities. And of course, people got all weird, and then they put a Securities Commission complaint. So I went through a full audit with Securities Commission, which was crazy stressful. Not because I've done anything wrong, but because it is the Securities Commission.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, so it was an incredible period where I honestly thought I could feel in my veins, I could feel the cortisol. Like, I could actually feel it being created in my brain and
Yeah.
going through my veins. So I don't wish this to anybody, to go through what I have gone through. Hence, I'm here. So,
And at this time, how was things at home? Because this obviously doesn't just cause stress in your
oh,
work
hold on.
environment as an investor, but at the same time, it's now creeped into your home environment as well, and your personal finances,
Oh, everything.
and that's sort of your anchor and your why, for the most part. So how were things at home when this happened? Did you at least have some support that could help you on that side?
I mean, my family has been the most supportive. Like, I cannot tell you, but I did have to make a decision, which a lot of people might think that I am ridiculously crazy, but it's just who I am. So I asked my husband to divorce me, and I brought him the papers, and he signed. And not because of there's lack of love or support or anything, but I didn't know who I was going to become. And
Yeah,
unless you're in there, you won't be able to. I might cry, touchy feeling.
it's fine. Go for it. This is a safe space.
Yeah. And and it was interesting because yeah, I had to say to him, I don't know what the aftermath of this is going to be, of me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if one is going to stay sane, you take care of the kids. So I gave him the custody of the kids and
Wow.
everything. I'm like, there's two things that I adore, and I will always protect it. They're my kids. So I need to protect you to protect them. So, uh, so, so that was that.
Wow.
And so yeah, so that was crazy. And what I
And
did,
this was just from more of a financial protection for your family. You guys were still all living together, supporting each other.
you know
It was
what?
just,
There was a
yeah,
period where the stress was just enormous.
I can imagine. Yeah.
And the it had to rearrange a lot of things in my marriage for sure. And so yeah, so that's the story there. And
What kept you
it's still an
going when things
open, it's
were?
still an open conversation.
I get that.
um
What's been keeping you going? Because you know when things get tough, you as an investor, when you or as someone looking to invest in real estate, if you go to any of these boot camps or these seminars, they always start off with focusing on your why, right? Because you're going to have challenges, you're going to have these walls that are constantly going to pop up, and if you don't have a strong why, you're not going to have enough to help push you through to break through the challenge and keep going. At this point, I could just imagine you'd need the strongest of whys to keep going when things are not only rough with your your day job, which is being a full-time investor and operator here, and you have responsibility for all these families, but your safe space, your foundation, your home is also being impacted by this. And you have pain coming from both sides. You don't have stability on either side. You kind of need something to keep you anchored and keep you going. Like you mentioned, there were two people that actually ended up taking their lives, and that's not uncommon when people are put in such a devastating space.
yeah.
What kept you going?
It's going to sound very strange. But I am a very strange human. I just realized I live my life between the magic and the logic. I have a magician
Yeah,
and I have a logician in me, and I am a mystic person. I uphold my life in a spiritual basis. I do believe that entrepreneurship is it's a spiritual journey,
yeah,
and so at the bottom of the bottom, I was in my solitude, and I said, hell to the no. My kids will see me disappear from this earth because of a challenge.
yeah,
And then I saw them. So things kept, this is the beauty. So I kept a mantra for
mm,
the whole time, and it is, I am guided, I am safe, and I am provided. And I am guided, safe, and provided to anything that I need in this particular point in time. And I am going to ask you, dear Creator, to unveil anything that I can't see. Reason being, I have created this reality in my universe. Whatever
yeah,
you're taking out of my spirit, my karma, the karma of the people around me, because this gets interesting. Anything that I am the vortex of this process, which is very painful, I need you to unveil it to me, show me the way, and help me get better. So I kept this prayer for years. So I had to make very important decisions, such as I went straight into 75 hard. So I would wake up 4:30 in the
yeah,
morning and really like go into a very cold shower and retrain my brain to do very difficult things first thing in the morning. I have been gifted the most beautiful uh, gift uh, of meditation since I was 8. So I am a deep meditator. I pray. I I have my angels with me at all times, and I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being guided. And sometimes you really don't understand why, right? And
Yeah.
sometimes you do ask yourself, why me, instead of this is for me. It's not the other way around. And I just couldn't see
Yes.
it, and I couldn't see why all of us were in such level of pain. And so I started going inward, and I had to stop into the most simple things of the day, which was make breakfast for my kids and tuck them into bed and do their
Yeah.
prayers with them. And my world surrounded those moments, and I cherished them, El Rey. Like, you have no idea when you're like the embodiment of cortisol. And I can tell you, the most incredible community around me. I am so grateful to be surrounded by such an incredible amount of people. I can't tell you, I am part of many masterminds in Canada, in the US, and they've known me for years. And even if they didn't know me for very long, I had this crazy support system that would not let me fall down. I remember, I can name so many instances where I felt that I was going to lose it. And miraculously, there was something or somebody that would hold my hand. It's like, you're not going to go there. We're going to go this way. So I couldn't shake the feeling of being guided. It was, and I am an avid reader, so I started studying even more so. So I read hundreds of books in 2 years and audiobooks, and I went and I started lifting weights like motherfucker, like crazy. I completely quit drinking the day off, and I said, if I have any vice, even if it's like this much, like this much, it's gonna eat me alive, because the pain is so great that I'm gonna want to numb myself, and I want this raw. I want God to show me and take everything from me and strip me out and make me brand new, break me wide open, and show me why I'm here for. And show
Yeah.
me why this pain, and show me how I can lead better and be better and become better. And it broke me down to pieces. It really did. So funny enough, and this is something, so I actually have been teaching people to fundraise. It's another story of how I'm coming back. So all I could do is just help. I'm like,
Yeah.
how can I help other founders? Because everybody said, oh my God, you're going through hell and you're the one with a smile in your face. Like, what the hell's wrong with you? And there's always someone that needs more help than you do. So I said, I don't have a lot to give right now, but I'll give you everything I have. And I've always said that I will give you everything I have. I will never keep anything. So take it and do something with it. And God put me in places where there were people fundraising, or there were developers going through hell, or really, really in jeopardy for their own life. So God put me to give them some sort of relief or structure or resource, or just being there and hold the pain for them, which I did the same for my investors. Like, I cannot change what's happening, but I can hold your pain. And I ask God, make me as big as humanly possible, because there's a lot of,
Yeah.
so that was that. And you know, when you get stretched, like something that's really, really
Elastic band.
stretched,
Yeah.
when the tension releases, you can never go back to the original shape.
No.
And there's a lot in between those lines of why you're stretched. And then I actually went all the way back to I actually went back to my very beginnings on how I was created, my relationship with money, the sense of I'm an immigrant. Of course, you can hear my accent, and so I came with a quest of creating something spectacular and great, and I built it. And this became my identity. I was so
Yes.
proud of what I had become, and being able to retire at 40, and create all this incredible dream of creating that for other people. Like Honeybee had the most incredible origin, the why. So I created it to create wealth and freedom for people, and I created pain. And so I realized that sometimes you create your fears first and then your dreams. And my fear was always to go bankrupt, get sued, and not feel loved. And God knows I received a hell of a lot of hatred and fingers. And so I got all of it. I got all my subconscious fear wish list.
Wow.
And I take it as a gift. I call Honeybee my dark angel. Um, it's a hell of a dark angel. And I'm still through it. I'm still going through it. But it removed the sense of identity. It removed the need for a dollar, because imagine from being retired to going to government support. That's fun. So sitting down with like $1,400 to your name, and a process of death, this crazy process of death, of 14-hour work still, because I would not pick up the phone to any of my investors. And I still had the Securities Commission on top, and I had the bankruptcy and the trustees and the investigators and the foreclosures and the banks and all these things. So I couldn't really work. So I said, how cool is it that I can live with $1,400? And have a sense of still I am me. And what is
100%.
me? Like, what does me constitute when you're stripped from everything that you think you are? And so when people listen to all this crazy saying that real estate is the way, and I say yes, but I also say no, because I've been in both ends of real estate, big time. I've made millions, but I've lost millions. And there's a lot in between there. So I actually started last year, I built a seminar for people that wanted to fundraise. And I would just go, and I've done this multiple times. I'm like, just listen to what I have to say, because
Yeah.
I don't have an agenda.
Yeah.
I really don't. I just want you to do it knowing what you're getting yourself into. And I have so many amazing golden nuggets that I could give to so many to do it in a way that you're never in a place where I was. So I see all these groups popping up: wealth, real estate, this, that. And it gives me the shivers, because yes, you can, but you really need to know it. It's something that you need mastery around.
Yeah.
Um, you just can't wing it.
What are some things you would tell yourself if you could go back earlier on? Some things that you've reflected, because I'm sure you've had ample time to sit
Oh
and
yeah.
reflect as to why this happened. The logical side,
Yes.
the emotional side, spiritually, just trying to think why did this happen logically, if my intentions were pure, what could I have done differently that would have resulted in a dramatically different outcome, and what should people be looking for if they were to tread the same path.
Yep.
I'm
Oh,
sure you had a lot of time to think about that. What what, obviously it's probably not just one single thing, it's probably a list of things, but what are some of the core things you think it boils down to?
So if I was to go back, I would tell myself slow down.
Mm.
And I think that is the big one. If I wouldn't have acquired the last two, which were the largest ones we ever acquired, I would have been able to suffice what was needed with my own capital. But what I put towards the capital calls of the next two stripped the funds that I could have repurposed on the other ones. So Honeybee was definitely over leveraged, and that's not a mystery. I've said that many
Yeah.
times, and that's on me, and that's on me. So I do, and that this is the interesting thing. It's like when you're an alcoholic, unless you take responsibility, you cannot get better.
No.
And and I think that is one thing that I had to forgive myself for. Because I think last year, and I'm going to share a crazy event. I have many to many great, like you're probably not going to be able to sleep if I tell you my last year, but there was one moment where I could not function. Like it was one day, and I did, God knows, everything that I could to keep myself normal and keep my family going. There was this day that my pain was so great that I thought I was going to die of sorrow. And I just stayed in that sofa for about 6 hours. And I think I've been in a sofa for 6 hours for a very long time. If you get to know me, you'll understand. And I haven't watched TV since 2011.
No
So
way.
yeah, it's just not what I do. I am devoted to my
Yeah.
teachings and my practices and my yoga, my weights, my mind, my soul, my heart, my supporting others, like whatever it is. And I couldn't find myself to watch something, so I was going kind of mental. And I said, maybe this is what people do to numb. And at that point, I was like, I'll take
Numb
the
pain.
TV.
Yeah. Yeah.
and and my door knocked, and this is when you really do understand the course of miracles. Um, and I had forgotten that I had one investor that was flying from the Yukon, and she wanted to see me. And I saw the phone, and I hadn't had a maybe too much information, but I hadn't had a shower for probably 2-3 days. It was in a really rough place.
Yeah.
And so I gave her the address of my house because I don't think I could have driven anyways. Like I was in a really rough, like my nervous system, I think it was in shock.
Yeah.
And so at that point, I said, okay, I need to do something with my life. The company had already been bankrupt. And I tried to start a new business. I just couldn't put myself in there. Like just having the energy of death and the energy of life put together and be able to function. And it was just, it was quite intense. And I was doing it. So every day I would force myself to build this new company and go at it again. But this day it just bit me because it was one day, one thing after the other with the banks and all these things. And so she came in and she saw me and she said, your energy force is gone. She's a Reiki energy healer. And she's like, you're pretty much kind of dead. I kind of feel that way. Thanks. And we started talking. And you see, God has this beautiful way of showing himself to you. And she's like, what's going on with you? And I said, I can't move. And I have so much emotion of sorrow and guilt, and she invested a lot of money with me, and I care about this woman so much. I care about all of them. Like I love them, every single one of them, regardless of their actions post bankruptcy, because I can understand when somebody feels that their survival is being affected. I have no judgment against it. Okay.
Yeah.
If ever, I have absolute acceptance and immediate forgiveness for their actions. Like I have nothing but blessings to give them. Um, and I started crying like this crazy woman, and I was on my knees, and she was sitting, and I begged for forgiveness. And I'm like, "Do you forgive me?" And oh my gosh. And I said, "I don't think I can thrive again. I don't think I can do this again because in a way, I felt like I should probably just be done with it so people can feel better about them losing money with me." And I took all the blame for my partners, for who showed up, for who left, for who stayed, for their capacities, for whatever. Like I just took it all in. And she said to me, "Okay, I forgive you, but I want you to be clear. I made the choice to invest with you. You didn't put a gun on my head. And I know you did try. So I don't think you need my forgiveness. You need your forgiveness. And you have
Yeah.
my permission to thrive. But I don't think you need mine. You need your own permission to thrive and to allow the light to come into your system because you're so trapped in this emotional sadness that there's no light coming to you. And you need to allow the light to come again into you. And it's waiting." So I cried. God, I cried. And
Yeah.
yeah. So that's what happens when there's failure, and it becomes a bigger conversation. Everybody wants to trap themselves in when things go right or when things are okay. And when something goes wrong, you're kind of trying to find somebody to blame. And I remember in the last conversation that I had with all my investors together, which my lawyer said that I shouldn't do, which I didn't listen, of course. And I met with all of them and I said, "I'm going to hold your pain on this and I'm here to answer any questions that you might have." One of them said, "Oh, yeah, it's because the government did this and the government did that, and you were always with us." And he was in a way trying to protect me from whatever. And I said, "I appreciate you for saying that, but I will tell you why I'm responsible for this and what I'm responsible for. And I also will tell you what you are responsible for." Right? So we all have our own responsibilities to take when something goes wrong.
Yeah.
And so I take my lessons and I give myself permission to live and thrive today. It's not easy every day,
No.
um, but I'm here.
You know, what a journey. Um, while you're going through all of this, you know that there's you explaining all the hardships, but I can't help but be impressed by the fact that I feel most people would just cave in and find a way to escape. It gets to a point where it becomes harder to dig yourself out of the hole. The hole gets deeper and deeper, and there's no light at the end of it. So it's easier to try and escape the reality. Um, and it becomes harder to wake up earlier and keep pushing. Harder to do cold showers even when things are going well, never mind when things are at your worst. You know, to keep your body physically active, to be working out, doing yoga, meditating, keeping your mind, being there spiritually. And then the biggest one, taking accountability, right?
Mm.
Amongst all of this and being impacted by it directly, and not only feeling responsible for the situation that you in going and your family's in, going from having money, having fancy cars, houses, and things going amazing to
Yeah.
from a high to a low, but then also having the weight of people putting their confidence in you for you to help them have a better life and help them grow their finances and grow their wealth, to feel like you've not only let your family down, you've let other people down, and still having the strength to try and do better, to try and pick yourself back up, to try and learn from it and grow from it, and still go out and find out how you can perform acts of service and continue to add value to people out there. Now, that day is so inspiring. It's a rough story, and I have no doubt that you have this pain that you're feeling, and I can see you carry the pain from everyone else that has been impacted by this, and they have that pain, and their families have that pain, and it's a rough story. I firstly want to thank you for having the boldness to come out and share this, because it's not easy to share it in a private setting, let alone share it out there for everyone. But I do think that I know that there's value in highlighting this for people. And you've spoken about how you would have done things differently had you had hindsight or the ability to go back in time. And that's a question I often ask my guests, is if you had to go back to your younger self, what's advice you'd give your younger self? If you had to get advice from your 80-year-old self, what advice do you think that would be? Because I love playing that game so that you live in purposefully in the now and what the future looks like and what your future self would recommend you do right now. And you mentioned just a few things that even resonate with me. When things are tough and things are challenging and cortisol is high, it's hard to live in the present. It's hard to find joy in the day-to-day mundane things, like making your kids food, like tucking them in at night. Not that you don't enjoy it, but to fully be present and embrace the moment. It's hard to do things like that when life is tough.
Yep.
You're living in a frantic state. So to constantly try and ground yourself, I have huge admiration for that. And I think it's a constant struggle that even in our day-to-day lives, we try and do. But when things are that heightened, even more so, it becomes challenging. Now, I have a question for you with your unique perspective for people out there who aren't on the operating side of real estate, who aren't interested in learning about that, that are looking to invest money and feel confident that this wouldn't happen to them. What advice would you have for them? Because things went south, and I mean, this is the first time I'm really truly hearing your story, right? So I'm getting to experience this firsthand. Things went south, but you had good intentions with their money. There wasn't bad intentions behind taking people's money and using it for yourself. So with all the good intentions that you had, and you had experience leading up to this, it wasn't like, hey, this is me just getting into real estate. Let's raise money. Let's put it out there. You had experience, you had good intentions, but things still went south, right? So what advice do you have for people out there who
Oof.
want to take their hard-earned money and lower the odds of it disappearing?
I love this question so much because I think that when you are starting your journey in real estate, the first thing that you need to learn about is your risk profile.
Yeah.
And I cannot emphasize this enough. What happens is that there's many different ways of growing in real estate, and especially nowadays people want money fast. Like they're not looking for the long run. This is very much part of a passion of mine now. And I talk about this a lot, actually, El Rey, because I wish I would have known this when I started my journey. And I meet a lot of people that, and then there's this crazy groups that are showing and talking about this OPM form of.
Yes.
I do not
For
like
our
it.
listeners out there who don't know, OPM, other people's money. Yeah.
I do not like the term. I do not like the philosophy. I do not like anything that goes around it. Okay. So I can tell you that I invested my hard earned money side by side with my investors. Okay. So, and I'm very vocal about it because my investors lost so money, I lost it all.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And there's a big difference from that to having an OPM mentality.
Yes.
I just need to say that because I feel very strongly about it.
100%.
So the first thing that I would do is really take my time to understand my risk profile. I've always had a massive tolerance for risk. Hence, I grew because I took a lot of risks. Okay. Now, it's not for everybody. So the problem that I find is the lack of coherence in the process. What do I mean by that? If your risk tolerance is low, do not go for a high yield investment. It's very important. Okay. And I know it sounds super stupid and simple, but it's not when things don't go right. So if your risk tolerance is very low and you're going for a short term loan of 16%, there's no coherence in the process. So the higher the risk, you wanna use money that you will not miss if it goes away. Okay. What was my problem in my pool? I was so confident in my fundraising capacities that I didn't ask this question. I just needed to ask this one question before I took those funds. Okay. So you asked me, what would I do differently? I would ask that question. What is your risk tolerance? And what would happen to your household if this money disappeared for whatever reason, because it's high reward, high risk?
Yes.
Okay. So that's the first thing. So
and what would you do based on their answer? If it's like, well, I kind of need the money, I can't afford to lose it, but I do want to grow it. Would you use that for a more conservative investment strategy, or would you outright
I'll give you an
decline?
example. I went for coffee with somebody, and I mean, I would hear, and I am not a financial advisor. I never pretended to give any advice whatsoever, but I did understand a little bit of their profile. And so the other day I was talking to a lady that she wants to do a flip, but she doesn't own a personal home. And she has X amount of dollars to invest, but she doesn't have a job right now because she has 3 kids under 5. And the husband's the sole breadwinner. And the market is a little iffy, and they only have that plus additional debt. Like, so the first thing that I ask is, how long would it take you to recover those funds and keep your family intact if you were to lose this investment?
Yeah.
Again, very simple, very stupid, if you may, but it's very relevant because
100%.
it puts some structure to it. Okay. The other thing that I would ask is, do you have 10 non-correlated investments? What do I mean by that? If you are, I have, and this is from the people that suffered the most in my pool. Okay. people that had issues with their risk profile versus the expectation on the outcome. I had people that had leveraged funds against their primary home on a high interest short term debt loan. I had people that put 100% of their retirement fund in real estate. 100%. So when the 30 deals went down, they had to go back to work at 65. And they didn't, they wanted to travel the world. They wanted to do all these things. So for 5 years, that money gave them $150,000, no problem every year for years. So the strategies work until they don't. And because they consistently made so much money over the years doing private lending, then they put all their funds into one type of investment only. And they thought they were diversified because they had 30 deals with different companies. But the 30 companies went down. We all went down. Okay, so that's a problem. So the first thing would be, are you, with the money that you're okay losing, do you have 10 uncorrelated investments? And I mean very non-correlated. I mean gold, I mean silver, I mean crypto, I mean real estate, I mean ETFs, I mean GICs. I mean, do you have 6 months locked in a place where you can actually access this money if you were to have an accident? Are you protected for the next 6 months? Like, have you thought about it? Right? So I approach this very differently now. Very, very differently. Would I have loved to have this conversation with every single one of my 300 investors, including myself? Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
So I didn't. I mortgaged everything. I sold everything. I put all my money into my one very beautiful dream. When things got tough, I sold every single other investment that I had. I stripped my family, but I was the operator, so it was my choice.
Yes.
So would I have asked another question in regards to do not invest in high yield more than 10% of your net worth? I would suggest that. I'm not a financial advisor again. Would that be one of my comments today in a conversation that has nothing to do with fundraising? I would. So if anything goes wrong, which it can. So I have another investor. He's a great friend of mine. Most of them are great friends of mine. And he said to me, because I felt terrible, he's one of my partner's best friend. And he said to me, I signed the dotted line. And he invested 50K with us. And he said, I am diversified. So yeah, it does hurt, but it's okay. Like, I knew that development is one of the most challenging, very rewarding, but I knew that I could lose my money. So, and he comes to my house. We talk on birthdays. We have a beautiful relationship with most of my investors, but I also lost my very best friend of all times in this process, which that I'm still mourning. Because I'm a protector. So she said, you will protect me. And when things got difficult, she wanted priority against other people. I couldn't do it. I lost her.
Wow.
Yeah. All you have when things get tough is your moral compass again. So back to the beauty of being alive. And I always say this: life is not fair, but it's worth living every minute of it. And my kids are healthy. I ended up at the hospital last year and I almost died. So that's another story. But
Was that unrelated, or do you think it was just from the physical toll that all of this
I
has
think it
taken?
was the stress. So I ended up with a massive infection. And I think it was the fact that I couldn't forgive myself. So my body literally infected itself and somatized all my
Yeah.
emotional stress. So I spent in there after 6 different types of antibiotics, going to surgery, freaking nothing works. And I was very close to being septic. And so I had a good week looking and talking to this 80 beautiful year old man that was yelling and snoring like crazy. And we became excellent friends. And I had this beautiful moment where I said, "Oh my God, I'm going to go. And if I go," and I have this morbid meditation that I do every 3 months, and I kind of kill myself and make sure that I have nothing pending. But I said, geez, this is not a meditation. It's actually happening. So am I cool? Am I okay to go? Okay, dear God, let's talk about this situation for a sec. Um, and I said, oh my goodness, I am okay. I have loved more than I can imagine I will ever loved in this world, and I have done the best that I could have done. I could have. So then I realized that I couldn't have done anything better than what I could with the information that I had at that particular point in time.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, dear Lord, we're ready. What's gonna happen? And then I healed. So that was good because I'm talking to you. And when I left the hospital, I decided to start my new venture.
How long ago was this, by the way?
That's October.
Okay. October last year?
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, the company went bankrupt in June. I ended up in the hospital in September, came out in October. I actually don't think I've said to many people that I was in the hospital, actually. Now I'm telling it to the whole world. But yeah, one of those things. And I said, okay, how do I want to live this next round? And so I decided that I'm going to become a public speaker. And
Love it.
people will think what they think, feel what they feel, and do what they do based on their own reflection of their own growth. I have
Yeah.
nothing to do there. And then I said, okay, I'm going to face the biggest fears that I had in my life. So I jumped off this very big, steep thing that I did. Another massive fear was doing public speaking. So I'm training myself to do that. I was terrified of failing again. So I said, I'm going to get really, really good at failing because I think it really took a toll on me because I never lost. I was always competitive and always like athletic and, you know, all these things. And so I had to get really good at losing.
Yeah.
So I'm great at 2 things now. I'm great at failing, and I am great at
And losing.
and winning too. So and reframing. And this is something that I actually
Yeah.
learned yesterday, and I loved it. And it said, "Why don't you change failing for feedback?"
100%. That's all that it is. Really, it is. It's feedback on what's not working
And
so that you can
iterate.
tweak it and find out what is. It's no indication on you or your abilities or your worth as a person. And I think
No.
we tie ourselves to that, and we tie that to our identity, and
And
it's
to the
not.
outcome.
You have to.
And to the
Yeah.
outcome.
Yeah.
So a lot of
Exactly.
Buddhism in these words, my friend, because then you realize that you really do need to detach from your
Yes.
outcome. So now, 2 weeks ago, I was terrified of going into social media. That was like, honestly, it gave me the shivers just by thinking about it because I didn't know who I was going to show, like what was my message, what was going to give. Like I was going to get the whiplash from investors and, all the judgments that either they know my story or not, all these things. So I had this crazy thing and I said, you know what? I'm going to lean into my fears. And this gets
Mm.
juicy. Then this matters
Yeah.
because normally where the fears are laying, there's growth. That's the path. So the obstacle is the way, my friend, and the mountain is you. I know I'm combining two books, but whatever. Um, but it really is that way. And another one that's really good, it's the heart thing of our heart thing. So I just blended three books, three lives, incredible lives in a sentence. And your true growth, which is the academy that I'm going to find, I'm funding next stage. It's called True Growth Academy, which entails growth that aligns not only within the founder or the dream holder, but also understanding that in the process, like it's like this.
Yeah.
And so somebody gifted me something, El Rey, I'm going to give it to you because maybe one day you'll be in a low and you might listen to, or remember my words. But Honeybee, for me, it's a chapter. So I was gifted an option for work last year, which I said no to. And the person said to me, "You're one of the few people that I know that would refuse a job such as as that." It was a crazy job. And I said, "I want to build something incredible. I'm going to build something amazing. And I just don't even know what it is yet, but I will." So this whole thing is not for nothing. And this
Yeah.
person said to me, because one of my mentors, which I couldn't pay anymore, still phones me, and I told him about this. And he said, "Ale, I don't want your to-do list because you're really good at it. I want your B list right now. You need a B list." And listen to that because it's a good one. So before you take any job, just figure out what framework would become your B list. And what he said to me after is, companies go, companies come, and you have to hold the vessel of the outcome of that, yes. And I don't mean any disrespect by treating it as an outside entity, but it is a fact. And he said to me, "You're living through a chapter, and every book needs a great, great chapter where it heightens everything for you. And it's just going to show you your B list." And I don't know why the people that were involved in my company needed to live what they lived. I don't have the answers for that. I gave them my all. But I also am able today to say, I have my own story to write, and it's okay to have one. Because when people are in pain, they don't want you to be okay. They want you to be in pain too. So by
Yeah.
me going into social media and reading crazy comments and having my stomach go down to the floor, knowing what I have done, and say, it's okay, immediate forgiveness, immediate acceptance, move on, get stronger mentally. And the beauty of this, like, I don't give a fuck anymore.
Yeah.
And so my brother came to me and said, "You know what? You have one option. You've always had this. It's like people either love you or hate you, but there's nothing in between." And that's good because it means that you have created something for yourself.
Yeah.
So I needed to learn to be okay not being loved. I needed to be okay with removing my self identity as a very successful entrepreneur and be okay telling the story of my failure, which, funny enough, has connected me. I went to this room, 70 people, crazy room, one of my rooms that I belonged to before. I couldn't pay it again, so I will soon. Uh, but I just went to say goodbye, and there's 70 very successful men in there. I was one of the puppies, women and young girl. And so I told them about the company going bankrupt and my identity crisis. And Jesus, in half an hour, I had 50 men crying their eyes out and sobbing and tissues in the room. And they said, "I haven't talked about this for 40 years. I haven't talked about this for 30 years. And all of them had crazy stories to tell. And I've never received so much kindness from founders. that have
Mm.
paved the way in a way for me. And maybe this is, I don't even know who's going to be listening to this, but maybe somebody that is going through the same sense of I'm building something spectacular and I'm failing and I don't think it's going to go in it. And I don't know what's going to be the outcome. And you have to faith it. You can't fake it. You
Yes,
have to faith it. It's different.
it is.
And the beauty of it is that when I was there, and again, I sat down and I felt like the biggest, most miserable human being on earth. Every single one of them, they told me it took me 5 years to recover. I lived in a car. I lived under the craziest stories that you will hear from men opening up and their emotional side. So there was a gift in that meeting for them too. And I told them, I don't think I'll take 5 years because I have you. So if anything comes from this thing and people can listen to this and know and time this thing, El Rey, because we'll meet in a couple years and you'll see what I have become, because I might be bankrupt right now, but I'm not poor.
Yeah,
Does that make sense?
100%. 100% it does.
So you just get better.
There's stuff that can't be taken from you.
Nope.
You know, money is just the byproduct of that, though. And
And if this doesn't kill you, we'll make you fucking stronger. And I am becoming a beast.
now I'm curious, though. You know, we've sort of come full circle on your story, and
Yes.
it's definitely a roller coaster, that's for sure. How are things? Firstly, how old are your kids right now? How have you explained the situation to your kids? I'm not sure how old they
Oh, I
are.
love this.
You know, imparted some lessons on them, and then how's the whole dynamic now at home? Has healing begun? How far along are we on that journey?
Okay, so I'm gonna share a story because I think it's so relevant. So the kids saw the downsizing, the dramatic
Yeah.
downsizing, and we now live in a rental, and it's a tenth of their previous home. So, so big change for them, and so first of all, there was this question, Mama, are we poor now?
Yeah.
And I had to say, are you lacking something? And he's like, no, not really, but it's interesting in a way. And I said, you know what, we are reinvesting in ourselves right now, and the exterior will change when things grow again, things expand and things contract. And right now we're in a
Yes.
contraction time, and as long as we are together and we're healthy, we're good. But hold on, then there were so many days where I would focus so much on just being with them. And it was actually really good for them. They were really happy that I was so present. I didn't want to do work when I was with them. I didn't take any phone calls. I just played.
Yeah.
And there were days where we were in the car and I could not take a few calls. And I would put the car aside and I would cry. And I would tell them, Mama is going through something, and I'm going to tell you what. I'm going to cry right now. Mama is safe. Mama's okay. But I need to release emotion. You know, when you really wanted something, when you wanted that toy, like really, really bad at the supermarket, and I told you no. So God is doing something similar with me. I really, 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 really wanted something, and God is saying no for me today. And I'm sad. So I'm going to cry that. Okay? But it's just a toy. It's just a thing. It's something material. But Mama is safe and you are safe. So I'm going to cry. And I'm going to cry for a little bit until this emotion calms down. Because I teach them that, right? So
100%. Yeah.
and so that was one. And the other one, I told them in another layer where I was feeling really low. I said, remember when you were, because they do a lot of athletic stuff. So they are in competitive teams, both of them. And I always clapped to my kids. And I had to teach myself about what I did with my kids. So I applaud them when they fell, not when they made something great.
Yeah.
And since they were very little, so they are used to falling.
Yes.
But I wasn't. So Annabelle, like my daughter, said, because I told her and I said this to her, and she corrected me, and I am so grateful because I said, okay, Honeybee failed, and I'm really sad because I'm feeling a lot of failure right now. And she clapped. Oh. And then she said, okay, so then you come back up.
She puts it back into perspective for you.
So
Yeah.
I'm like, yes, I need to
Yeah.
learn to clap.
Yeah.
And so simple things like that. Oh my God, so many stories. And so they're good. I've been doing this social media posting. I have more clarity around what I want to do there. I was working on that before I talked to you. And the interesting thing is that the other day, Annabelle came and she was never interested in my work. I think she saw it as competition almost.
Yes.
And the other day, she had a play date and she's like, Mama, can I grab your phone? And this is the first time ever. And I'm like, sure, like what do you want to do? And she's like, I want to show Kimberly your posts. And I think it was the first. My posts are me losing it, like lifting weights and talking about how I feel in that particular moment. Like, and she wants to see it. She wants to be part of this, and they can see raw what it is to stay afloat and happy while you go through hell.
Yeah.
Because you can only go one way, and that's by walking. And that's another investor that said that to me. It's like, Ale, you're going through hell, and the only way out is keep walking. Just don't stop. Just keep moving. And so I kept that to heart. And so that's what I do. And I'm going to do something funny for you. So when I feel stuck, guess what I do? Just wait 2
You
seconds.
have your walking pad, right? Yeah. 100%.
So I work doing this, and
Yeah.
I create doing this. And then when I feel stuck, I have my set of weights right there and I lift. And if my dark side, then we're going to go into my logistic side, which is the mystical side. It's how I rebuild my system and my epigenetics around the PTSD situation that I have going on in my body. So, in retraining myself to go back to peak state, which is another very, like, how your emotions and like the coherent way of acting, thinking, and feeling will create the magnetism to have miracles come to you. And I know all this because I am living proof of that too. And so it's interesting to be able to do it in a second round from zero, which is incredible, and say, oh my God, now I'm going to test everything that I actually truly believe in. And I can see the miracles. I can see the synchronicities. I can see life and death within me. I can see the universe collapsing, and I can feel my quantum higher self talking to me. Like, there's a lot of things in the energy realm that are downloading to me. And the interesting thing is that once you're with people as crazy as I am, you will never be able to see things in a different way. You cannot not see something once you see it.
100%. Can't be unseen. So right now you in the state of just getting yourself in complete alignment physically, mentally, spiritually. Just, well, firstly, one other thing I wanted to say is that keep moving, keep walking stands true physically as well.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It absolutely does. And as long as you keep moving, you're good. It's when you stop moving, you get depressed, you get become unmotivated to you stop taking action, really. So you just have to keep moving. It's really, it is true. It is true. Keep moving. Physically, it will keep you in a better state, mentally, emotionally, and all of that.
And
So
be able to see you, El Rey, because your spirit is behind your thoughts and emotions, and you
yeah,
have to understand them as such. So the problem is when we attach to the thought or we attach to the emotion, which I'm still battling with because I'm still learning, especially when I have difficult meetings or difficult conversations or circumstances that are at this point out of my capacity to change. So you can do a lot of things, but there's also a point when you need to allow things to unravel.
yeah,
And that is up to God. It's not up to you. So I have a lot of things that are not up to me right now because I know I can move and I know I can keep walking, but I also need to find acceptance. So there's a whole lot of other realms and there's a lot of energies around you, right? So that's what it is. So what's the next step? Rebuild
yeah.
and rebuild good. So how can you add value? And this is something that I am very passionate about. And it's taking a fair bit of my time, which is how do you actually put a system where you can rebuild or build something with your nervous system in check, with all the guide rails around risk? Because the funny thing is that if you talk to any of my millionaire friends, and that's the other thing, I have a lot of people with lots of money around me, so that it's an interesting place to be back to square one and hold yourself in a room. Holy
Yes.
interesting. And yet you realize that your bank account is just an idea in your head to give you some sort of self-worth. But when that's stripped and then you're like, okay, is it really? Or is it just me?
Yes.
Okay. So then you go through this beautiful rabbit hole of what is it that this really me means to me? It's the meaning that you give it. So it'll get interesting from now to the next time we are together to see what happened. Because I'm myself curious.
Do you feel like the Honeybee chapter for you personally is now complete?
No, we have 5 foreclosures ongoing.
Okay. So not even personally. Obviously, the journey's still going.
Oh,
And yeah, yeah,
oh God,
yeah.
no. I spend even now like 2 to 3 hours, even a day in it.
Yeah.
I'm working between my 5 projects and see what sticks. 13, 14-hour days, still 6 days a week. So, no.
Gotta keep moving.
And so, yeah, oh, I will find a way. I will
Yeah.
find a way. And God will show me the way. So I am honestly just gathering data. I have an operating company that is ongoing. So I had to sit down, and this is going to help so many people. I am actually so passionate about this. Because when you are sitting where I was sitting last year and you're scratching your head, I could very well be someone in in the 20s, in the 30s, after a divorce, any setback. It doesn't really fucking matter. Like, it doesn't
Yeah.
matter what issue, what age. But if you're in a point where your life is like base zero, financially speaking, the journey is the same for everybody. And that gets so cool because, as I said in the beginning, I was stretched to a point where I can't go back to my original shape. So I have built multiple businesses over the years. I ended up having, I think, 30 companies up until last year. And so even if the whole thing is completely strapped out, I'm sitting in a place where I can actually guide the process of what happens in the mind of a serial entrepreneur and how can
Yeah.
you guide that way. Okay.
Yeah.
I've had import export companies, I've had retail, I've had real estate in every form or shape. Now I ended up coaching people. So now I'm becoming a coach. I have a company that now does unlock equity for people that want to sell and maximize. So I'm helping homeowners flip their homes because I used to buy those homes to flip. Now I don't have the
Yeah.
capital. Okay, fine. I don't have money, but I can help you flip your homes, right? I can
Yeah.
guide them. I can coach them to flip their own homes and make money. And they don't know how to finance. They don't know where to put them. Like they don't know how to make them pretty. They don't know what to do with it. They don't know how much they should invest. I can do that with my eyes closed. Like that's what I do. So you realize, and I say this, you're richer than you think. You just don't know where to find your truth and what is actually what you want to do. Because I find a lot of people doing something that they don't really want to be doing. And that's why money doesn't flow to them.
Yeah.
And so I know it's a bit broader than real estate. And real estate is a beautiful avenue to create wealth. It is. It's incredible. I actually forgot to mention I had 50 units in Edmonton because you live there. And I actually
Yeah.
released all those companies to my investors. And I was creating a beautiful connection with an organization to secure women that were endangered by violence. And I was creating these 50 units, God willing, to allow women to be there. And my ultimate goal, and I thought that's what that was going to happen. My billionaire friend, I suggested that we could use my $500 or whatever it was to create this beautiful hub for women that are needing a shelter because there's a big need for that. So that was my big dream with Mimi. That was our dream, and then that collapsed, and that was something that I really mourned. And I said, you know what? Next time I'll do it bigger, better, and stronger, and we'll see. We'll see.
I'm curious to hear how things unfold the next time I have
Oh
you
my gosh.
on the show.
Yes.
I really am. I really
Me
am.
too.
What a journey. What a journey. What a story. Have me sitting at the edge of my seat here. Even your camera can't sit still. Your
Oh my
camera's
God.
like
I don't know. That thing is completely crazy. I have nothing to do with the thing. And I guess I move my hands
I
a
swear
lot.
you have a cameraman like just
I do
doing his
not.
thing there, zooming in for dramatic effect.
I do believe the energy in the room is pretty high.
Yeah.
And I had an employee. Yeah, oh, that was another thing, losing my teams and letting
Yeah.
everybody go. Oh my God. That's another issue. But anyways, I had one person that I would be having a hard day, and he would say, "Do not touch the computers. You're gonna break them." uh, and uh, and it's a thing. Like technology is energy. So when you're having a
Yeah.
day, like when I'm having a day, oh man, oh man. Well, you were a witness of it, and I now have nobody to help me fix it. So humbling. It's so humbling to not have
Yeah.
your right hand with you. You know what I mean? Like it's so humbling to, and I just hired somebody for one of my businesses with my great $1,400 income. So again, and this is something that people might not do. The first thing that I do is I seek my team. I find my team. And there's so much to give. There's so much to give.
100%.
And it's crazy when I think I met with 25 people last week. And at the end of the day, I tend to just build new structures for them, their lives, finances, emotionally, mentally. I don't care what it is. Like, I will give you everything I have.
I see value in that. Absolutely. Like you have the experience that can't be taken away from you,
Yeah.
right? You have the skills that can't be taken away from you.
Yeah.
So you're not starting from zero. As much as financially you may be, your starting point isn't, the network that you have
Yeah.
isn't, the mindset that you have isn't. So you have this this imbalance that eventually has to find an equilibrium, right? You put in the work out there, you add in value, you work in service, and if you're doing all of those things have to equal out, right? Eventually. So I'm really curious to see how things end up panning out, and I'd be really happy to have you back on the show. This has been
Thank you.
amazing. In fact, this is one of the longer episodes that I've shot because I just want to keep it going. There's so much that we can unpack, and I feel like we've barely, as much as you've high level gone through your journey so far, I still feel like we barely scratched the surface because there's so much that you have to speak on. Um, we couldn't even go super. We could have gone deeper. I feel. I'm sure we could have. But we wanted to get the entire breadth of
Yeah.
this of your journey out there.
Yeah.
And I am really excited to have you on. So to see what that next chapter has been like, to see how this current chapter closes off.
Yeah.
We haven't spoken prior to this, so this has been super enlightening.
Yeah, it's the first
And
time we just met. For people who listen to
absolutely,
this,
yeah,
we like El Rey didn't know anything about me. I didn't know anything about El Rey, and it was just that it happened that I needed to be
yeah,
here today. So I'm very grateful. You're the first podcast, and I have a fair amount of them lined up. There was actually one lady that reached out. They're doing a documentary around development and developers, because I think we're reaching 500 developers going down last year alone in Canada.
yeah.
There's a lot of us. And so they're doing this massive documentary around it. So I'll be part of that for sure. And I should show you my notebooks. I have 5 notebooks packed with what eventually will become a teaching point to offer to young founders, or not so young founders that are growing something amazing. And you would not believe the amount of resilience and pain that a founder goes through to build something amazing. And so I know I can support in that process when
Yeah,
somebody does not have a framework that allows them to continue when they want to quit.
100%. And that's what the bulk of my channel is about, is me trying to shed light on that with the guests that I interview. Uh, it's so easy to share wins. It's very challenging to share the dark side of things. And I want to thank you for being so brave and coming up here and sharing this. I know this is just like one of the first steps for you into pursuing the public speaking side, and I'm grateful to have you on. What I am going to do for everyone else is, now that you've come out of hiding on social media, your words, not mine, I wouldn't have known. I'm going to leave whatever social media links or whatever links you have for ways for people to find you and connect with you. I'm going to leave that in the show notes below so people can continue to follow along on your journey.
I would appreciate that
But
very
truly,
much. And you know what? As much as I have, and I believe the same, I have not touched not even the surface of the conversation today, but I am
yeah,
creating an incredible framework around my communication on socials. So if you're a young founder, I will give you enough resources to really grow, and true growth, not only money grow. And that's something that I found in my biggest rooms. I went to a room 2 years ago where Elon Musk was there. 30% of the room was billionaires. There were 700 of us there. And I saw the first car flying before anybody else did. And I saw agents talking before anybody did. Hearts pumping from a printer. Like I saw all these crazy, beautiful things. And being in this room,
Wow.
it was amazing. It was incredible. It was one of the most incredible experiences of my life. And the most interesting part of it all is that I saw and I had the most amazing conversations with people that were as low as not having any money at all because of the lack of purpose. And
Yeah.
so they had exited like $2 billion tech companies, or they had exited this, or they had done this, or they were like serial entrepreneurs where money was not the actual issue. And I felt I was back in Rome talking about deep philosophy and spiritual matters and really moonshots that meant something to the world and game changers, really, like people changing the world at the top level. And so you cannot just focus on material growth, because then you're really working with duality. And this is something that I am learning. I was
Yeah.
working on a place of full duality, so I needed to go to the other polarity. But I do really believe that there is a point of a neutral capacity to live fully where your polarities are not so deep. So you don't have to go through what I had to go through to understand this one subject. And because then you will have all the money in the world. And it happened to me at some point where it almost lost meaning.
Yeah.
And so there's layers of it. And I'm graciously and very humbly back into square one with that perspective too. So then the question is a little different. It's like, what do I want to create? Because I know my journey. When you're creating something, it's 9 months for the first round, and then 18 months for the second, and then you have seven years of process. Like I know the path already. So I want to make sure that what I'm building is really truly calling from my deeper inner knowing and connecting that side of your magician, of why you did a secret contract before being born. So that's another book. But yeah, so there's a lot on that side that I will unpack on my socials.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I'm gonna be following along. Ale, this has been quite a conversation. You you weren't kidding. You weren't kidding when we got started, but I want to thank you. I really do. I want to thank you for coming on. I want to thank you for being bold. I want to thank you for being open, and I want to thank you for sharing, because you don't know how many people could have needed to hear your message. And I know it's not easy, especially coming in and sharing the situation at hand and how it unfolded. And yeah, it's it takes a lot of guts to do that and put yourself out there and open yourself out to the public, and share your losses and failures. I think for anybody,
Yep.
you know, to open up. So I really want to thank you for doing that. I truly appreciate that, and I, more than anything, I respect that. I really do.
If
Yeah, go ahead.
anybody wants to understand more about any subject, they can only always send you an email or something. I'm happy to do a post around any question that they might have. If they want to deepen any knowledge, the deep, the bad, and the ugly, the weird, the maybe not so weird, or whatever, like share their story, please come along. And I hold no judgment. I know
Love
there's a
that.
lot of pain in the industry right now. And I'm okay with whatever comes your way.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, so for everyone listening, you know, whether you want to leave a public comment or you want to send a private email, whatever questions you have, you heard it. We could get Ali to answer that. And yeah, again, I'm going to leave all of the info in the show notes below. Feel free to go follow along, keep it going. And I have no doubt we'll have her back here in the future and we can hear how things unfolded. But Ellie, I want to thank you so much for coming on and sharing.
You're welcome.
This has been an eye-opening, emotional roller coaster of a conversation. I've loved it. Thank you. Appreciate you.
Thank you. I appreciate you. Take care.
To our listeners out there, if you're looking for more valuable insights, be sure to subscribe, share this with someone who can benefit, and as always, keep investing smartly. Thank you for tuning in to the Wealth Through Real Estate Show. If you're wondering how to maximize profits from your short-term rentals without full occupancy, you don't want to miss my episode with Spencer and Ashley. This is your host, Aure Noble, signing off.